known as the Brunei Vision 2035, is inaugurated in 2007 by His Majesty the Sultan of Brunei. This Wawasan of Brunei 2035 aims that by 2035, Brunei would have a highly educated, skilled, and accomplished citizenry and be among the top 10 globally in the UN's Human Development Index. This vision stressed that Brunei would have a dynamic and sustainable economy capable of affording a high standard of living for all. So there's a lot of policy directions there if you look at achieving the goals of Wawasan Brunei 2035, and this is indirectly the driver for change for the whole education landscape in Brunei Darussalam. And then we look at SPN 21. What does it mean? So to express Wawasan Brunei 2035 in the context of the national education system, the Ministry of Education in 2007 approved the Sistem Pendidikan Negara Abad ke-21. That's why we call it SPN 21. National Education System of the 21st Century, widely known as SPN 21, which is a long-term reform plan for the system. This accentuated the need for more investment in the early childhood education sector and called for the strengthening of student and teacher competencies in the use of information and communication technologies, the development of opportunities for lifelong learning, and an overall improvement in the quality of institutional management across the system. So that on the right side is the SPN 21 curriculum model, where we have the learner, and it mimics the Bronfenbrenner's ecological system theory. And then we look into early childhood care and education in Brunei Darussalam. Here, we are concerned with the educational developmental needs of children up to 8 years of age. And it covers the foundation level in the International Standard Classification of Education, ISCED, which includes 2 developmental periods, first from birth to 3 years of age, and the second from 3 years of age to the start of primary school. And private providers under the supervision by the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports are exclusively responsible for providing childcare centers for children up to age 3. So under the Ministry of Education supervision, private providers are solely responsible for delivering early childhood education through preschools for children aged 3 and 4. So what this means here is to give a background information, Brunei does not have any public childcare center yet. So our childcare center is majorly private providers, okay, and it's under the supervision by the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports. And upon reaching the age of 5, children must attend either a public or a private preschool to complete the 1-year prasekolah preschool program prescribed by the Ministry of Education. And the Ministry of Health care services for children and works to complement the functions performed by the other 2 ministries. And then when we look at the childcare centers, children younger than 3 may attend a private childcare center, and this is optional. It's optional because there's no public childcare center yet, and this is under the Childcare Center Act 2012. And it's viewed as providing a form of childminding and provide regular full-time or part-time care in purpose-built setting that supports play and social interaction. So there is no standardized charge rate for attendance at these centers, as prices vary due to the nature of the booking, whether it's full day, morning and afternoon, or half day, morning or afternoon. So in 2021, there were 39 private childcare centers providing for about 845 children. And the qualification levels of childcare center workers are low. It's about 13% of them hold any childhood education qualification, and most of them are O-level and A-level school leavers. So the Childcare Centers Act imposes strict licensing requirements on private childcare centers, but contains no provisions to relating to the qualification requirements of the childcare workers. So I think this is a similar, yeah, this one. So in 2021, there's 39 private childcare centers, as mentioned earlier, but in 2025 this year, from their website, there is now 73 private childcare centers in Brunei Darussalam. I would like to move on now to the preschools in Brunei. So in preschools, for children aged 3 and 4, preschool attendance is optional, and there's no public preschools provided for children at this age group. So the public preschool comes at 5 years old. So preschool attendance becomes compulsory under the Compulsory Education Act, and the preschool education for 3 to 4 years old is affected by a tradition of children being kept at home where they can learn and play under the supervision of an immediate or extended family member. This is a tradition that reflects the close-knit nature of extended family structures in Brunei, which means that many parents do not feel much pressure to send their children to preschool until it becomes compulsory at the age of 5. Public preschool education for 5 years old in Brunei is free for the children. Parents are citizens or permanent residents. Financial conditions may affect access to private preschool education for 3 to 5 years old. And private preschool fees could be at the range of 1,000 Brunei dollar per year to 16,000 Brunei dollar per year. So the government provides an educational allowance of Brunei dollar of 120 Brunei dollar per month to government employees who send their children to a private preschool from the age of 5. So this allowance forms part of a package of benefits made available to attract and retain civil servants. I will now show you the preschool and preschool enrollments in Brunei by district in 2020 and 2021. As shown in Table 1, there were 117 public preschools in 2020 and 2021, providing for 2,388 5-year-olds. So in that year, there were about 72 private preschools, providing for 10,489 to 3 to 5-year-olds. So in Brunei Muara, which is the most populated and commercial of Brunei's 4 districts, had the most public and private preschools in 2020 and 2021. So the Blight district, where Brunei's oil and gas industry is based, had the next most significant concentration of preschool children. Little is known about the ownership of private preschools, other than that most are profit-oriented with individuals rather than corporate owners. So some private preschools belong to and are supported by religious or community groups. The teacher-to-pupil ratio in Brunei's early childhood sector is estimated to be 1:20, although there is no official calculation of this ratio available. And in terms of teaching qualification, public preschools teachers are generally required to have a teaching qualification. So in 2020 to 2021, 49% of all public preschool teachers had a qualification specific to early childhood education, such as a Master's of Education in Early Child Education or a Master's of Teaching in ECEC. Another qualification widely held is the Bachelor of Arts in Primary Education. So, with having set that background of statistics, there is generally a need for more early childhood education specialists in public preschools. So details of the qualifications profile of teachers at private preschools are not currently available. And in general, teachers at private preschools are unlikely to be more qualified than teachers at public preschools. And then we have the curriculum. So childcare centers, all public or private preschool aligns with the national SPN 21 school curriculum and embodies the values underpinning Wawasan Brunei 2035. So childcare centers do not have a formal curriculum. They mainly engage children in socializing experiences through play. So the preschool curriculum, particularly the Prasekolah program for 5 years old, focuses on providing children with the necessities for a successful transition to primary school. So, for example, enhancing spiritual, cognitive, physical, sensory, communication, emotional, and social development, instilling Islamic values and morals, developing reading, writing, counting, and thinking skills, improving communication skills in Malay, which is the medium instruction of preschool, developing foundational skills in English because in the preschool year, which is the 1 year preschool year, the medium of instruction is in Malay, and to prepare them for the following year ahead, year 1 and onwards, the delivery of instruction will change to English. And then providing fun opportunities and learning experiences and building positive social attitudes. Islamic religious education here also influences expectations about what should be achieved through the preschool curriculum. And then here we look at the Ministry of Education, where it prescribes 5 foundation requirements for the preschool curriculum, which I have mentioned earlier. And then the language of instruction is Malay, though Arabic is used for some religious education, and English is used to teach the English language. Children may also be introduced to Mandarin or Arabic at some private preschools. Most Bruneians are Malay and Muslim, and Islamic religious knowledge is a subject that begins early in the preschool years. So, hence, the Arabic language is simultaneously introduced along with other languages, such as Malay and English, or with the Chinese Mandarin language in some schools. So, Arabic here is further emphasized in Islamic religious school, where it becomes compulsory by the age of 7. Next, what happens in our 2007? This is from our Prasekolah syllabus, where the Ministry of Education has identified 5 strategies for the delivery of the preschool curriculum. First is from the easy to difficult, a cooperative approach, an integrative approach, thematic approach, and a learning through play approach. So the Ministry of Education emphasized that a preschool teacher's role is to facilitate learning using child-centered approach in classrooms, emphasizing fun, play, and learn more. In 2009, the Ministry of Education identified the following thematic elements to guide the delivery of the preschool curriculum, which is my school, myself, my family, my house, my food and drinks, transportation, clothing, animals, plants, occupations, and toys. Now let's look at quality. In terms of quality for child centers, the accountable to the Community Development Department within the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports. And it ensures that all new childcare centers have been assessed for the suitability of the owners and the quality of the intended program and infrastructure. So licenses and regulates childcare centers to ensure that they promote children's welfare, including health and safety, and in 2020, this is where there's a collaboration with the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports, where they introduced the National Nutrition and Physical Activity Guidelines for childcare. So there is, I bring it back again. We're now back in July 2022, there were 54 childcare centers, and then in May it goes to 74 childcare centers. So the managers of these centers, they have a wide range of qualifications, including some with no more than a GCE O-level certificate, with others diplomas and degrees, whether in education or some other field. And with this guideline that you see here on the picture, the Ministry of Health also conducts workshops for childcare operators and educators regarding the new guidelines. What about the quality of the preschool? Let's look at it. So preschools in Brunei are the responsibility of the Early Childhood Education Unit within the Ministry of Education. And back in August 2014, the Brunei Teacher Standards, which is the BTS, helped provide a regulatory framework for monitoring the quality of teaching and learning in preschools. And in 2020, they also introduced the revised version of the Brunei Teacher Standards Teacher Performance Appraisal 2.0. And to date, the ministry has identified various areas of preschool provision that need support. So with this BTS, it has also helped to identify high-performing preschool teachers for recognition through the Teachers Service Scheme, the Teachers' Day Awards, and the International Teacher Awards. So this BTS, the United Kingdom's Independent Schools Inspectorate, supported the Ministry of Education in developing a teacher appraisal process to assess the competency of teaching and quality of student learning across the early childhood and general education sectors in Brunei. So this BTS, the standards were based on international evidence-based research. Next, we have the Early Childhood Education Unit, who has also introduced initiatives to support preschool teachers. So if you look on the right side, that was a poster before back in 2022. And we have this kind of poster every year with different designs, still with the same objective of calling for volunteers to help in the government preschool. Um, this is because, to give a background information, in Brunei, the preschool section does not have a teacher assistant at the moment. So it's 1:20 as the ratio of the adult in the classroom. This is why we are looking for volunteers to become teacher assistant. And these are usually students who are waiting for their O-level and A-level results, where they have a gap of a few months before they attend the following academic. And then one of these, for the early childhood unit, they also provide training on teaching and learning as part of an annual 5-day preschool orientation program. And they established this volunteer scheme for teacher assisted experience in preschools. Other initiatives include school and family engagement program, which they call it the SAFE program, and the production of activity books in English, such as My Phonics Activity Book 1 and My Phonics Activity Book 2. What about inclusion? Inclusion and equity. So we have the Akta Pendidikan Wajib there, which is the compulsory education order. And here, participation in preschool education is highly inclusive under the Compulsory Education Act 2007. Every child in Brunei over the age of 5 must attend a public preschool unless they are enrolled at a private preschool. And children whose parents are citizens or permanent residents have easy access to free public preschool education. So children of non-citizens, they will require a student pass before being admitted to public preschool education. And public preschool education is equitable because attendance generally requires the payment of only a small annual fee of 5 Brunei dollars, and children attending public preschools are provided with daily food and drink. Actually, the preschool education is free. The $5 per year is just for the teachers to collect as part of providing further stationaries required if they needed to top up from what was already there already. So that's what they use it for. Next, in terms of access to the health system, in Brunei, we are charged for one Brunei dollar for registration purposes, and that will provide you with services for consultations, treatment, and medicines are free. Under the Sistem Kebajikan Negara, which is the national welfare system, it offers further assistance to less fortunate families. Parents who send their children age 3 and 4 to preschool must select a private provider. They may also select a private provider of preschool education for their 5-year-olds. So most private preschools charge fees that would be affordable for parents who are employed. Next, we look at 1995, where Brunei ratified the United Nations Conventions on the Rights of the Child. This is a big impact because there are certain articles in the UNCRC, which is the United Nations Conventions on the Rights of the Child, which does not fit with the Brunei context. So with that, Brunei has adopted it and introduced in 2006 the Children and Young Persons Act, which is revised in 2012 to provide for the care and protection of young people. And in 2020, Brunei adopted a national framework on child protection, which is introduced by the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports. And what happens with this framework is it seeks to further develop the existing child protection ecosystem, and it refers explicitly to the importance of having a comprehensive strategy, including awareness rising for the elimination of gender stereotypes and discrimination against all groups of children in marginalized and disadvantaged situations. So what I'm showing here is that Brunei has, over many years, attached a great importance to the care, development, and education of young children. And there is a high level of public acceptance of the need for children to experience healthy, holistic development. So with the National Framework on Child Protection in Brunei Darussalam, this is an example of a whole government nation approach in Brunei. Let's move to the teacher training and professional development. So the Ministry of Education ensures that public preschool teachers are qualified, and they're responsible that the qualification levels here vary. Many are having qualifications in primary, then early child education. We have the teacher retraining. This is encouraged, and mainly by attending the Sultan Hasnal Bolkiah Institute of Education at University Brunei Darussalam. As a background information, this is the faculty that provides teacher training, and it's like your institute, your IPG, and then something similar to that, like your IPG. However, we are housed under a university. And then we have the College University Perguruan Agama Seri Begawan, which is Kupu SB, or the Seri Begawan Religious Teachers University College, which offers Islamic preschool education stream to specialize in early child education at the bachelor's degree level. And for context, why are they doing bachelor's degree at Kupu SB if they are interested? That is because at Shibi, Sultan Hasnal Bolkiah Institute of Education at University Brunei Darussalam, our focus is more to we are a graduate school, and our focus is more towards graduate programs. For example, Masters of Teaching. And also for context, before 2008, preschool teachers qualified by completing the Early Childhood Education and Care Specialization with degree programs at Shibi. So Shibi before offered certificate and degree level early child education and care qualifications. So since 2008, Shibi offered graduate courses focused on early childhood education. And these include the Masters of Education in Early Childhood Education and the Masters of Teaching in Early Child Education programs. However, enrollment numbers in specialized early childhood education programs are very small. For example, between 2018 and 2021, in total, there were only 16 students who were enrolled in the Masters of Teaching in Early Child Education program. And apart from that, we have Kupu SB, who offers the bachelor's degree. And the degree structure here includes a minor sequence of studies in early childhood education. So it's not a major specialization on early childhood education. Now let's look at leadership and governance. There are three central ministries that play a role in the management of the early child education sector in Brunei, where first is the Ministry of Education, who's responsible for the preschools. We have the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports, responsible for the childcare centers. And we have the Ministry of Health, who provides healthcare services for children in childcare centers and preschools. And this works to complement the functions performed by the other two ministries. So here, when you look at the system of governance, the Ministry of Education's role in the sector is the most dominant. It has many specialized departments, including the Department of Schools, the Early Childhood Education and Care Unit, the Department of Curriculum Development, the Department of Schools Inspectorate, and the Private Schools Unit. So its approach to governance is a top-down approach, and it appoints public preschool principals and teachers. So public preschool principals then work within a framework of policies and guidelines approved by the Department of Schools, the Early Childhood Education and Care Unit, and the Department of Curriculum Development. So most of the decision making regarding public preschool organizational and curriculum matters occurs centrally within the ministry. And then we have the Ministry of Religious Affairs, who also contributes to governance within the sector by managing religious education. The National Framework on Child Protection 2020 has attempted to align the roles and responsibilities of the various ministries and their constituent officers regarding the protection of children and development of future priorities. Next, we have the Ministry's Department of Private Schools. This this department supervises private preschools to ensure compliance with legislation and associated regulatory requirements. So the Department of Private Schools sets minimum requirements for teacher appointments, but does not engage with the appointment process. So owners of these preschools appoint the principals and the teachers. Salaries offered by private preschool teachers uh, Salaries offered by private preschools are less attractive than those paid by public preschools. So public preschool teachers have access to a range of benefits available to government employees. And what are the current issues in Brunei in early childhood education? So the primary trend in the early childhood education sector relates to curriculum transformation. In this era of globalization of the 21st century, many countries have introduced reforms to their national education systems, along with the changes to their early childhood education services and policies. So this enables them to strive towards providing a high quality education experience. So the primary trend in early childhood education sector relates to curriculum transformation. And there has been a significant curriculum transformation since 2012 because of the Brunei National Vision 2035 that I have introduced earlier in the beginning of the slide, and the SPN 21, which is the Sistem Pendidikan Negara Abad ke-21, as the structural drivers for educational change. And the Ministry of Education's Early Childhood Education Unit is pushing the sector towards a fun, play, and learn more approach to teaching. This is required by the SPN 21 curriculum framework. And with that, it encouraged to be more child-centered in curriculum delivery. Which means that teachers are now being encouraged to be more child-centered, meaning in their curriculum delivery, and to engage in more, to engage children more in active learning through play and project-based learning. Next, I have reported back in 2018 that the Brunei National Vision 2035 and the SPN 21 have also influenced the early childhood education teacher training programs, especially the program delivered through the Sultan Hasnal Bolkiah Institute of Education, SHIBI, at University Brunei Darussalam. And the Ministry of Education is currently drafting a national framework for preschools for children aged 3 to 5 years old. And the framework will supplement the National Framework on Child Protection produced by the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports. 。 So associated with the changes arising from the vision statement and SPN 21, there has been a renewed commitment to continuous quality improvement and the provision of additional resources to ensure high level of education and childcare service. And as we are discussing here about mapping Brunei early child education, the Ministry of Education currently is drafting a national framework for preschools for children aged 3 to 5 years old. And the framework will later supplement the national framework on the child protection produced by the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports. So here is an immediate issue for the sector concerns to develop an online teaching and learning capacity uh, based from the COVID-19 pandemic, which has caused a significant disruption within the sector back in 2020 and 2021. So preschool students were expected to engage in rudimentary forms of online learning quickly, devised by preschool teachers. This experience was new for teachers, parents, and children. Some homes had no internet connection, so home learning packs also had to be developed to assist parents in keeping their children occupied with learning. The effect of the disruption has been that preschools are now much more open to exploring blended learning approaches that involve classroom instruction, opportunities for independent learning, and internet-based resources. So this transformation is occurring slowly, but now needs to be consolidated. And the Learning Recovery Program also provides preschool teachers who needs more professional development opportunities to share their expertise in using blended learning techniques. They also need time to reflect on the impact of the transformation on their personal teaching goals and approaches. So these changes will require more time to implement, and the need for active discussion about the provision of relevant professional support by the Ministry of Education will be of critical importance over the coming years. If schools are to remain adaptable, strategic, and able to fulfill the demands of contemporary education, they must learn to embrace data-driven culture. And next, in terms of a longer term issue, it concerns the quality of the teaching workforce in early childhood education sector. As mentioned earlier, there is a general need for preschool teachers to be much better qualified. So the proportion of early childhood education teachers who have trained at postgraduate level in the early childhood education is relatively small. So many practicing early childhood teachers also need to improve their qualification levels. It is of particular concern that one third of them may not have studied at a level higher than completing school leaving qualifications. So higher education institutions have an essential role in making access to programs for upgrading qualifications widely available. SHABI needs to actively promote its Masters of Education in Early Childhood Education and Care and the Masters of Teaching in Early Childhood Education programs to the public. It is also timely for SHABI to develop and offer micro-credential programs focusing on specific areas of expertise in early childhood education. Micro-credential programs are becoming popular across many areas of higher education, and their existence in the context of providing professional development opportunities for early childhood education teachers in Brunei would be highly beneficial. There is also a need for a gender balance within the early childhood education teaching workforce. And with my study back in 2009 on men's perception of teaching in Brunei preschools revealed that they perceive working in the early childhood sector as more of a female profession. So there was also very little attention given to male early childhood education teachers in advertisements about careers in the profession. However, the study also found that the men who were early childhood education and care teachers tended to be more creative than many female teachers. So, the reasons why so few males are attracted to working as preschool teachers need to be better understood. And the Ministry of Education must review its recruitment processes to show that it attaches importance to having more male preschool teachers in the sector. And many universities in other countries develop these centers to support university employees who have young children and provide a setting for research about issues of concern in the sector. So, a campus based center would also offer internship opportunities for students completing qualifications in early childhood education. So, the university is considering this proposal several years back, and perhaps it is timely for the matter to be reconsidered, because as of now, the University Brunei Darussalam is heading towards to establish an early childhood education center within the university. As a conclusion, by 2035, Brunei wishes to be recognized for the accomplishments of its well-educated and highly skilled people, improving the quality of life and the creation of a dynamic and sustainable economy. And this is also on a par globally, as there has been growing attention and interest in the issue of early childhood education by many countries. Therefore, there will be both continuity in changes in order to meet the social and economic developmental needs of Brunei. And it is inevitable that changes are needed in Brunei in order to further improve the country as a whole. And as a conclusion, as my last slide, although those changes are needed, it is important for Brunei to uphold its core values that has been the foundation of its stability, harmony, and prosperity. So any changes made shall be guided by the Melayu Islam Raja concept at all times, a focus which will include commitment to the monarchy and nation, belief in the values of Islam based on the Ahli Sunnah wal Jama'ah, Mazhab Shafi'i, the teachings of the Quran and the Prophets, and the tradition of compassion, tolerance, and social harmony. Overall, Brunei has made notable strides in early childhood education and care and is still in the process of striving towards implementing change and improvements as it continues to strive to provide high quality early childhood education and care service. So thank you for listening. These are my references that I have been using. And thank you for listening. I would like to open the floor for any questions if you have any.
Thank you very much, Dr. Diana, for your presentation. And I'm sure there are some questions that needed to be answered by you, and also probably, we can also discuss further on certain things that need more clarification on this. Yes, I have this question from Sundarai Munyadi on diverse disabilities, but there's just one sentence saying that for diverse disabilities, but I believe that she or he would like to ask more about the situation in Brunei early child education on diverse diversity. But you discuss on the inclusive practices, but probably a bit more clarification on diverse disabilities. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for the question, Sundarai Muniandi. I saw in the chat you say is current preschools involved in inclusive education. Yes, we are heading towards inclusive education, and currently in our preschools, we have students with different abilities joining our preschool centers. So I would say we are heading towards inclusive education, and we do have children attending our sessions. So we also have teachers who are trained in ISE, inclusive special education, for the Masters of Teaching. However, we also have the, what do you call that? The SENA teachers, special education needs assistant teachers, who will be coming and assisting certain children at specific timings, as long as they are registered under the Child Development Center and also under the Special Education Unit, Ministry of Education. Then the support will be provided. So we do not have, for the preschool, the public preschool, we do not have like a special educational needs preschool just for them. Ours is inclusive vision. Okay, I hope that answers the question.
Okay, I think that answers questions. But I would like to ask a bit further on that question about SENA you mentioned just now, the assistants.
Yes.
So do they need to go through any standardized training for the SENA? Do they need to do they have the standardized trainings for them to be able to be part of the classroom?
Yes, so the SENA teachers are actually provided via the Special Education Unit, Ministry of Education. Their background, I'm not quite sure, but they are trained different. They also do Masters of Teaching. We have graduates. We have a program in Shibi called Masters of Teaching in Inclusive Special Education, which caters to this. And later on, the Special Education Unit will be focusing more on these graduates, and then they have specialized courses more specific for these graduates later on, before they include them into the preschool education system. So that's a brief background.
All right, thank you very much for that further clarification on that. There's one more question. Dr. Diana, this is from Dr. Abdul Halim, Professor Dr. Halim. Thank you for bringing all of your students here to listen to this presentation by Dr. Diana. Are the salaries of nursery and preschool education, sorry,
Is it the salaries of,
salaries, yeah,
yeah, salaries of nursery?
monitored by the government?
Yeah. We do not have a standard rate at the moment. So the Department of Private Schools at the Ministry of Education, they are more in, what do you call that? Hang on, let me go back to my slide. They are more towards, yeah, so when we look at the private schools rates, they vary because there's no standardized rate, and usually they are not involved in the recruitment process as well. So it's a bit on a different set of regulation that they have at the Department of Private School sector, and I am not that familiar with it. However, what I know, every private school charges differently. So although they get the approval from the Department of Private Schools at the Ministry of Education to approve that these are the certain rates. So I think that's the way of how they monitor the rates, because you need to get approval first from Department of Private Sector, Ministry of Education. However, that department is not directly involved in recruitment process and whatnot. So it's more about registration and a little bit on the quality assurance side. So that's why you get various rates that we have among private sectors.
Correct, yeah. Interesting. Probably they are more motivated to know how much they earn in Brunei dollars if they are working there. But as you said, it varies. But I'm sure with the government preschool teachers, they all need to have MTeach, right? Master in Teaching for Early Childhood.
Yes, for now, it's being regulated that the Masters of Teaching is like the license to teach in Brunei. So that is where Brunei is heading.
Yeah.
So if it's in the public preschool, you will have more qualified teachers compared to the private sector. So that is why the salaries vary as well. So I would say, in terms of salary, public preschool teachers will benefit more compared to the private preschools.
All right. Thank you. And there's another question. In Brunei, do you have standard program for early child program? So, and what is the core course students must take as compulsory? What are the compulsory core courses?
Okay. I will be speaking for Shibi in terms of what we offer. Our standard program for early child education program will be the Masters of Teaching in Early Childhood. So in the Masters of Teaching, we have a 3-semester program. Um, and this year, just January, is the revised version of the Masters of Teaching. So it has been rebranded. So the Masters of Teaching 2.0, if you like. So what happens is we have 3 semesters for full time, and each semester you have a practicum, professional practice seminar, we call it PPS. So in the first practicum, you will be observing your mentor at a school. You will be there for about 6 to 7 weeks for observation purpose. And then the 8th week and the 9th week is your chance to shine and try out your teaching. And then, so Monday to Thursdays, the student will be at the respective school placement. And then on Friday, we meet them at the university. So it's theory and practice aligned with each other. So Monday through Thursday at school, Friday you come to us and we go back with theory. And then in semester 2, the practicum will be more intensive, where you have 12 weeks of teaching practicum placed at another school, and you will be trying to apply and implement various strategies of teaching. And then in semester 3, it's a bit similar to semester 2, where you also have 12 weeks of teaching at the school placement, and yet you are having mentors throughout your semester. You have your mentors, you have your clinical specialists from the university, mentors from the schools. And in the third semester is where the students are required to do a research exercise, like a thesis of 12,000 words, because it's a 12 modular credit, heavily based on action research. Because Shibi is a graduate school since 2008, we no longer provide undergraduate programs. This is in line with the Ministry of Education's requirement for teachers to have the Masters of Teaching as the way forward for teaching qualification in Brunei. So our undergraduate programs at Shibi, we do not have it because we are a graduate school. However, how it works is at the University Brunei Darussalam, or in Brunei generally, you come from different um, undergraduate degree program. You can come from degree of engineering or sciences or whatever. And then only if you are serious that you are thinking that you want to join the teaching force, then you come to Shibi and apply for the Masters of Teaching in various specializations. So we have Masters of Teaching. Either you go for specialization in early childhood education, or you go for primary education, secondary education, higher education, or VTE, and inclusive special education. So those are our specialized areas that students can apply for. So this is in line with the Ministry of Education in upgrading the teacher standards in Brunei. So you can get your undergraduate program from other faculties, but not in Shibi. Shibi will be like your IPG, similar to your IPG. However, we are housed under the University Brunei Darussalam. but directive heavily influenced by the Ministry of Education in terms of decision making. I hope that helps with
Yeah,
clarification. Thank
yeah, yeah. That's very comprehensive reply and answer. Just a very quick one. Does only Shibi offer MTech in early childhood, or
you.
do you
Yes.
have any other institutions that offer the same?
No, it's only at the University Brunei Darussalam. As in
So,
Brunei, we only have four universities. And in terms of teacher training, Shibi is the only one for it, and also Kupu SB. But Kupu SB is more towards religious education teachers. So it's heavily based in Shibi,
all
UB.
right.
Okay.
Thank you. And there's another question from Sundarai. Does private or government preschool send teachers to further their studies? And this is for those who cannot afford to sponsor their own studies. And is there any funding?
Yes, in Brunei, the system is if you are aged 30 years below, you are still entitled to the Brunei government scholarship. So I think that's how you further your studies. And if you're already in the workforce, you have the Latihan Dalam Perkhidmatan scheme, where if you are eligible for it, you can apply for it. But these are mostly for public services like university. If you're from the private, then it will depend on your bosses how it works, because that
Mm,
would be on the private side. But for the government preschool teachers, if they want to meninggi tahap, then they can apply if they're eligible for it. So that's how. If it's beyond 30 years old, then the scholarship no longer applies, and that means that it's self-funding.
all right. Thank you very much for that answer. And I think we are coming to the end of the webinar, but I have one um, very important question that I would like to ask. Since you visited Pusat Anak Permata Negara and you had a meeting with Ministry of Education, and as part of the comparative study between Brunei and Malaysia, have you identified any key differences or even best practices in early childhood education that Brunei could adopt from Malaysia or vice versa? And how can these insights strengthen collaboration between Malaysia and Brunei? One or two that you.
Okay, in summary, in brief from the visits that we have conducted and the observations, what I learned is that Brunei is still, I would say, we are still at the baby steps heading towards early childhood, because, like I've explained earlier, that even now, the ministry is still drafting and discussing about the framework for 3 to 5 years old, which we do not have yet. And looking at Malaysia, you are already having it, and you are currently at the revision stage as well. So, what I understand is that globally and regionally, everybody is heading towards investing in early childhood education, heading towards um, providing good quality for early childhood because of the growing attention and interest in early childhood education by the government and globally, internationally as well. So, what I understand is, although a country who has been like for a long time standing with strong foundations in early childhood, you are not just sitting there and say, oh, we're good already, now let's focus on other things. No, but what I understand is there is always continuous change, and that kind of change is inevitable because everybody is heading towards trying to head towards high quality services. So what I learned from Malaysia is that there is a big gap in Brunei. So I think Brunei is heading towards the correct direction as well. Although we are at the baby stage, I would say the baby stage because of there's no theoretical framework yet, and we're heading towards there, and there's no public childcare centers yet, which the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports is also exploring, exploring this context and we are also providing only private childcare services. So I think with the low number of early childhood specialists in Brunei, especially the educators that I have shared earlier, we are at the stage of not having enough yet. Even if we have enough, I think we still need to recruit more for sustainability in early child education. So that's where we are in Brunei, where we are still trying to get more teachers to join the early child education to be more qualified, and then this will help the childcare sector and the preschool sector and the ministries involved. So that's my understanding of where we are and the gap that we are learning from Malaysia. That has been an eye-opening about that could be the future of Brunei when we open up a childcare center run by the government, um, and looking into how you have revised your policies and how it's being implemented. That is a significant first-hand observation and data that we can understand, which is very different from just reading policy documents and reading what do you call that, lesson plans from teachers. So this is a very good information. I like the first-hand information, and I'm sure Hajazu and Dr. Rosli Nawati, who is with me here in Kuala Lumpur, is also getting a lot of information, and we are thinking about further collaboration in terms of research and in terms of implementation. We are still looking at a lot of improvements, but those best practices that we have learned from Malaysia is something that we will leverage further for this session in terms of collaboration between Brunei and Malaysia, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you so much for such an engaging and insightful discussion. And of course, we learn from each other a lot. And your expertise and passion in early childhood education have truly inspired us. And also, have gained a deeper understanding of how Brunei in advancing this field. So we would also like to acknowledge the important work of you and Dr. Rosalind and Haja doing as part of the comparative study between Brunei and Malaysia. And I'm sure that this kind of collaboration is essential, for the driving progress in early child education in this region. And it's very exciting to see how both countries, Malaysia and Brunei, can learn from and support one another in nurturing young learners. So before we wrap up, I'd like to also thank everyone who joined us today. Thank you for your active participation and also thoughtful questions. And it's your engagement that makes these discussions more meaningful. So we hope that this session spark ideas and also more discussions that will continue beyond this webinar. And if you'd like to revisit today's session or share it with others, I think the recording will be made available to those who apply. And thank you once again, Dr. Diana, and to all of you being part of this important conversation or webinar. And we look forward to seeing you at the future event, inshallah. So until then, take care and have a wonderful day. Assalamu alaikum, and have a good day, everyone.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Maybe we can take a group photo if that's possible. And I don't know whether Haja Zul or Dr. Rosalind already. I'm not sure. So maybe we can just take a photo. Everyone who would like to be in the photo.
Perhaps they can switch on their video.
Yeah. And everyone else in the session, in the webinar. At least I know one of the master's classes, they're all watching you.
Oh,
26 of them. So I can only have one screen, but they will be, everyone was watching just now.
oh, mashallah. Thank you for watching.
Yeah. Can we, is it possible? I don't know whether, how do we take photo, Nurul? The attendees, you can Open your camera. So it's not easy for Bruneian to come and visit us. So inshallah, we hope to go and visit you. No? All right. If no, just we take our own photo then. All right. Nurul, can you count? I'm not sure whether you have taken the photo or not. Okay, one. I'll count myself. One.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, cannot open camera. Thank you, Alice. Alice is one of our PhD student from Indonesia. So for those who can you start counting so we can give our best smile. All right, so 1, 2, 3. Okay. Thank you, everyone. And you can fill out your attendance by using the link given. Okay. And Dr. Diana, if you would like to stay online for us to demonstrate the National Child Data Center and also the My Screen, if that's possible, we just give you a break of 10 minutes and we can resume using the same link platform.
Okay.
Is it possible?
Yes.
All right.
So in 10 minutes, yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.